The Golden State Warriors sent Jordan Poole back to the Shadow Realm. As you all know, the Jordan Poole was traded from the Golden State Warriors to the Washington Wizards, and it hasn't looked so bright for Jordan Poole's career so far in a Washington Wizards uniform. They had a recent game where the Washington Wizards faced off against the Warriors, and the Warriors beat them 123 to 112. However, is this the end of Jordan Poole's career? In today's video, we're going to be going through 5 reasons why Jordan Poole's career may be over, and how Washington Wizards trading him may have been the best decision for the Golden State Warriors to try to win another NBA championship. So make sure to like this video, and guys, 92% of you are still not subscribed to the channel, so it'd mean the world if you could subscribe to the channel, hitting that red button down below. The first is that Jordan Poole's attitude towards the game is what got him in this mess in the first place. Now, as you all know, Jordan Poole was traded from the Golden State Warriors to the Washington Wizards, but a lot of people do assume that he was traded due to the beef between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, and I do believe that this is true. When it came to the chemistry after the incident between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, you can tell it was very different. And the reason why this all starting to make sense is that we see Jordan Poole now with the Washington Wizards starting to not really care about basketball, not listening to team huddles, and just kind of doing this own thing. And this has kind of become viral all over Instagram and TikTok over the last couple of weeks, and it is only getting worse as time goes on. Now, I'm not saying what Draymond Green did was right, but a lot of comments are now starting to get on Draymond Green's side and see why he did it in the first place. And I think that's pretty savage, but when it comes to Jordan Poole's attitude, I definitely think that needs to change if he wants to survive and make it out in more and more years in the NBA. When we look at Jordan Poole so far, he hasn't been in the greatest team, and it doesn't make it any better when he's not listening to his coaches, he's having little arguments with his teammates, and he is becoming a bit of a toxic culture within that Washington Wizards roster. That may have been the reason why Draymond Green did it in the first place. Now, Draymond actually did say what really actually transpired was that Jordan Poole was coming into that training camp a little bit too cocky. He also was mentioning his contract extension that he did sign and boasting it in front of other players, and Draymond was just not liking that, and things escalated to another, and then we got the incident that we all know. But when it comes to Jordan Poole, this definitely needs to change if he wants to continue not only just to play in the NBA, but finally find himself in another championship team. I know Golden State Warriors were actually interested in bringing him back just before the trade deadline, but I do believe that now that Jordan Poole has become a joke to everyone in the NBA, that he's a player that doesn't really listen, that doesn't really focus in the actual game, it is starting to see that Golden State Warriors are losing interest as time goes on. So if Jordan Poole wants to find his way back, he definitely will need to start changing that attitude and become a part of the game and be invested into it as much as he can. The second is that Jordan Poole's inconsistency from the field is starting to become a bigger problem. Now, as you all know, Jordan Poole's main weakness that a lot of NBA fans and also NBA analysts definitely mentioned was his inconsistency from shooting from the three-point arc or even just scoring in general. And although so far this season he is averaging 32% from the three and also 40% from the field, he has a lot of games where he's playing very bad. Now, if we look at some of the most recent games over the last 5, he actually had a game against Toronto where he shot 25% from the three and also only had 41% from the field, which isn't too bad, but 25% from the three is definitely not great. He also went another game against Sacramento where he had 25% from the three-point line as well. Another game against Houston where he took 18 shots and shot 27% from the field goal, which is honestly insane. And on top of that, another game against Chicago where he only had 30% from the field goal line and he shot 12 shots during that matchup. And guys, this is only over the last 5 games. If we look at even further so far this season, we actually see some worse performances from that, and this is something Jordan Poole definitely needs to change if he wants to continue to be an actual star and live up to his contract. We actually have seen very, very bad games. He had another game against Dallas most recently where he actually shot 0.083% from the field. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 0.08%. He went 1 from 12 from the field and also went 1 from 6 from the three-point line, which was 15% from the three. So he's had himself from pretty bad games, and I definitely do think this needs to change. If we actually look at his stats so far this season, he's only shot above 50% 20 times so far this season, and he has played 70 games all up. So he hasn't had great shooting nights as of recent, and I think he needs to definitely change this if he wants to continue to play in a great team and if he wants to find his way outside of Washington Wizards. Now, as you all know, Washington Wizards are looking to actually trade him, but Jordan Poole has been requested to actually join another championship contending team, whether it's Warriors coming back to them or whether another NBA championship prospect that could be on the horizon. But I don't think any of these teams would want someone that is a little bit too inconsistent like Jordan Poole from the field. The third is that Jordan Poole is a weak defender. Now, as you all know, Jordan Poole is much more of an offensive player than he is a defensive player, and because of that, it actually raises a lot of eyebrows, and it isn't actually good if he wants to be a starter for any sort of team. Now, Jordan Poole has always come off the bench for the Golden State Warriors, and his job and main focus was definitely to score, as there were a lot more defenders in that second unit. At that time was Jonathan Kuminga, Gary Payton II, Otto Porter was also in that roster when they won the championship, so there were a lot of defenders in that second unit, and all Jordan Poole's job was to actually score, which he did a great job at. But now he's in the starting role, he has to be that leader for this Washington Wizards team, and he does play pretty poor defense, and it is starting to show. Now, it is difficult to just go off stats and to actually say whether he's a bad defender or not. You really have to watch Washington Wizards game and his defense out there, and that's where you start to see the bigger problem. When we actually look at him in certain scenarios, we tend to see him be very, very poor on defense closing out. His help defense is a little bit weaker, and on top of that, him coming around screens, a lot of guards are able to get around him pretty easily, and these are the problems that definitely arise. It may not be his player that he's marking that's scoring, but if he does let his player get a good drive in, maybe get an open shot, it eventually all adds up, and it does cause their team to lose a lot often. Now, when we look at Washington Wizards, as we all know, they aren't having the greatest season so far this season, and because of that, we think it will continue on as they continue to actually fall down the ladder. Right now, they are 14th in the NBA Eastern Conference, so that is really surprising to see, but as a whole, their defensive rating ranks 29th out of the 30 teams. So you definitely see that when it comes to their defense, it is a very, very poor defense, and Jordan Poole definitely has to take some responsibility on that if he wants to actually find his way out. Now, when it comes to defense as well, I do have to mention he is, averaging 1.1 steals, which is not bad, but like I said, steals isn't the whole picture, blocks isn't the whole picture. You really have to see the highlights and the stats to really see why Jordan Poole is a bit of too much of a liability for a starting point guard. The fourth is now Jordan Poole's payroll is too expensive for anyone to actually afford. Now, as you all know, Jordan Poole did catch himself a very good bag with his contract extension, and now Jordan Poole this season is actually making $27 million. So that is a big chunk, but when you look at who is out there for $27 million, you definitely start to see that he is a lot of bad value due to the fact that Julius Randle, DeMar DeRozan, Chris Middleton, and Jaylen Brown are all making roughly the same amount of money as Jordan Poole. Also, other players to mention is Jalen Brunson, Cameron Johnson, Kyle Kuzma, his teammate. Wiggins is also making less than him, and other players like Aaron Gordon, Draymond Green, and also Mikal Bridges. So when you start to look at the player pools and the player talent out there for around $30 million, you tend to see a lot more better players for around that $27 million mark. Even all-stars such as Jaylen Brown and past all-stars such as DeMar DeRozan. So this definitely is interesting to see that some players who are absolutely having themselves an all-star season is getting the same or even less amount of money than Jordan Poole. I think the biggest takeaway is also Jalen Brunson, who does play for the New York Knicks and is absolutely dominating, and he is actually making $2 million less than Jordan Poole, which is honestly surprising to see. If Jordan Poole was to join the Golden State Warriors, it would actually make him the fourth most expensive player in that roster. The only players above him would be Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Chris Paul, and everyone else would actually be below Jordan Poole when it came to that payroll. So you start to see you're not getting your bang for your buck if you decide to trade for someone like Jordan Poole, as you do have to match their contract, get around $27 million out of your current team salary cap, and put it into Jordan Poole. And it doesn't seem like a smart idea for any other team to do that, and that is why he wasn't been able to be traded before the trade deadline. So chapter 5 of this video, where does Jordan Poole go from here? Now, it is going to be very, very hard, but I think Jordan Poole needs to leave the Washington Wizards as soon as possible. Not only is he playing poorly, but obviously the Washington Wizards culture isn't the best for him. They are a losing team. They aren't going to win anytime soon. And if we actually look at where they are heading, it does look like they are looking to actually tank in order to get a great pick for the next upcoming draft. So when it comes to Jordan Poole, obviously we do know he wants to play for another all-star caliber team with championship potential, and at 6'4", 194 pounds, he can definitely provide a lot, which I think is absolutely true. But I think the biggest problem that he does run into is that, is he a great teammate at first, and does he have the capability to actually be a leader in certain moments? And I think this is where Jordan Poole is definitely going to be tested. It would be great to have him back in the Golden State Warriors uniform, but when you do look at the roster, it doesn't seem like a perfect fit right now due to the fact that Jordan Poole has such a high salary that it does take a lot from Golden State Warriors to be able to get another start next season. So this is where a big problem does lie. Could we see Jordan Poole back in a Golden State Warriors uniform soon? Maybe, and hopefully it does eventually happen. It does seem that there is still a lot of love there, and Jordan Poole himself wants to go back to the Warriors, and I think Stephen Curry is also missing him back in a Warriors uniform as well. I think Poole is still a great fit for what the Warriors have, but I think right now Poole definitely needs to step up his game and be that star that they need if the Warriors are going to be interested in the future to get someone of his caliber. But for right now, Jordan Poole needs to find a way out of Washington Wizards as soon as possible.